She walked into Geneva smiling like this was supposed to be her global victory lap, but within hours, that single selfie turned into one of the most explosive public disasters Meghan Markle has faced in months, because the man standing beside her in that now viral photo was not just another politician shaking hands at a luxury World Health Organization dinner. No, he was already drowning in accusations involving teenage girls, racism scandals, leaked messages, and an active police investigation. And somehow, this happened at an event where Meghan herself was speaking about protecting children from online harm. That contradiction alone was enough to ignite outrage across social media and royal circles. But insiders are now asking an even darker question. Was this really carelessness? Or does the entire Sussex operation no longer have the structure to prevent catastrophic mistakes anymore?
Meghan Markle has just had a date night with a Finnish man who has been accused of both sexual harassment and racism. So what has she done to try and take the attention away from this scandal? I know, leaked Prince Harry's private pictures, never before seen, of them intimately kissing on their wedding day.
The moment the photo surfaced online, people immediately noticed the horrifying mismatch. Meghan Markle, dressed elegantly, smiling warmly, posing comfortably beside Finland's Minister of Social Affairs and Health, Willie Rydman. But the internet was already flooded with reports about the allegations surrounding him. Teenage girls, disturbing accusations, alleged harassment spanning years, leaked racist messages so offensive they shocked even hardened political observers. And yet there was Meghan, the woman who had just stood on an international stage speaking emotionally about protecting children. The optics were devastating, brutal, practically impossible to defend. Critics instantly exploded with one question: how could someone entering global policy spaces not know who she was standing beside? The Sussex camp moved quickly into damage control mode. Sources claimed Meghan was simply approached for photographs during the dinner and politely agreed, unaware of his background. But that explanation only created another layer of suspicion, because this was not some random red carpet fan interaction outside a hotel. This was a tightly controlled international political event tied to the World Health Organization. People started asking whether Meghan's team had anyone vetting attendees at all. And suddenly, the bigger conversation shifted away from the selfie itself toward the collapsing infrastructure around the Sussex household.
Strategy is nuts, but we see right through it. So officially, Meghan shared these unseen wedding photos to celebrate her 8th anniversary with Prince Harry. It was posted on Instagram with a crescent moon, and she said 8 years ago today, with a photo credit to the wonderful Chris Allerton.
The details of the investigation surrounding Rydman only intensified the backlash. Reports involving girls between 14 and 17 years old, multiple women allegedly coming forward, police inquiries, public controversy already exploding inside Finland before Meghan ever entered the room. And now royal commentators were openly asking how a woman trying to position herself as an international advocate for children could miss something this massive. Silence from the Sussex side became suspicious. Every delayed response made the situation feel worse. Every explanation sounded thinner. Then came the next bombshell. Commentators began pointing out that real institutional figures traveling at this level normally have serious operational staff behind them. Security teams, vetting teams, communications advisors, background researchers, the kind of machinery that prevents exactly this kind of disaster. But Meghan's Geneva appearance exposed what many critics believe is the truth nobody wanted to admit. The Sussexes are operating the image of a royal tour without the institutional framework that actually protects royal figures from scandals like this. And once people noticed that weakness, they started noticing everything else too. The awkward crowd shots, the strangely empty streets, the lack of excitement surrounding the Geneva appearance. Photos circulated online showing barriers supposedly prepared for cheering crowds, but barely anyone there. One woman in the background, casually adjusting her clothes while Meghan spoke, became an accidental viral symbol of the entire trip. The image was humiliating because it contradicted the carefully crafted narrative that Meghan was entering a new era as a powerful global figure. Then suddenly, almost like clockwork, the distraction campaign began. Out of nowhere, deeply private wedding photographs appeared online, intimate images from Frogmore House, personal moments previously hidden from the public for 8 years. The timing felt almost almost too perfect. Critics immediately accused the Sussex operation of deploying emotional royal nostalgia to bury the Geneva scandal under a flood of wedding glamour. And that accusation grew even louder when people realized these photos were strategically released on Instagram, the very type of social media platform Meghan had just criticized during her speech about dangers facing children online. The contradiction was staggering. 1 minute social media is framed as harmful and dangerous. The next minute it becomes the distribution machine for private royal memories designed to repair public image damage. And people noticed, fast. But the wedding photo release triggered even deeper conversations. People noticed how heavily the images focused on Doria Ragland while barely showing King Charles or the wider royal institution. Analysts began arguing that Meghan was actively rewriting the visual history of the royal wedding itself, recentering the Markle side, minimizing the monarchy, transforming what was once framed as a grand institutional union into something emotionally personal and commercially usable. And then came the Paula Abdul song choice, Forever Your Girl. That tiny detail sent gossip channels into overdrive because suddenly people were analyzing lyrics, hidden messages, and possible signals toward Harry himself. Some believed the music selection was not romantic at all, but possessive. A coded public message wrapped inside a wedding anniversary montage released during a scandal week. Every single detail started feeling layered, strategic, calculated. Meanwhile, insiders quietly leaked another brutal detail. Harry reportedly stayed away from Geneva because Meghan wanted the spotlight entirely on herself. According to reports, she believed his presence would overshadow her policy appearance. But critics now argue the opposite happened. Without Harry, the institutional gravity disappeared, the audience energy disappeared, the public fascination weakened instantly, and the empty venue photos became permanent evidence. Then, another fire started burning. Rumors emerged about Meghan planning Diana-inspired fashion projects tied to commercial sales. That story detonated inside royal circles because William has spent years fiercely protecting Diana's image from commercialization. Suddenly, commentators were asking whether Meghan was now monetizing not only royal connections, but Diana's memory itself. What made the Geneva disaster even more dangerous for Meghan was not just the selfie scandal itself, it was the feeling that everything around her suddenly started collapsing at the same time. Every carefully staged image, every strategic release, every celebrity connection, every attempt to project influence. It all started looking unstable under pressure. Because while Meghan's team was busy flooding Instagram with emotional wedding nostalgia, another uncomfortable reality was quietly spreading across royal commentary networks. Many of the celebrity alliances the Sussexes once relied on are disappearing one by one, and nowhere was that shift more obvious than the Beckham situation. Old wedding photographs suddenly resurfaced showing celebrity publicists, Hollywood figures, elite connections, and carefully constructed social networks surrounding Harry and Meghan during their royal wedding era. Back then, the Sussexes looked untouchable, powerful, protected, Hollywood royalty merging with actual royalty. But now, those same photos are being re-examined like relics from a vanished empire. Victoria and David Beckham are no longer seen around the Sussexes. Instead, they are increasingly photographed beside King Charles and Queen Camilla at institutional royal events. That shift is not accidental. Royal insiders believe the celebrity ecosystem has quietly realigned itself back toward the monarchy, leaving Meghan and Harry increasingly isolated. The symbolism became brutal when commentators started comparing old wedding glamour to the Geneva emptiness. Back then, global stars lined up around the Sussex brand. Now, according to critics, Meghan arrived in Switzerland expecting crowds, media obsession, and policy prestige, only to be met with half-empty streets, distracted passers-by, and a scandal exploding in real time around a single selfie. That contrast damaged her image more than the scandal itself because it created the impression of shrinking influence. And then the Diana issue exploded. Reports claiming Meghan was planning a Diana-inspired fashion range sent shockwaves through royal circles because Diana is not just another style icon inside the monarchy. She is sacred territory. William, especially, has spent years protecting his mother's legacy from commercialization. But suddenly, stories were circulating that Meghan planned to wear Diana-inspired looks before selling similar fashion items commercially through her own channels. The backlash was immediate because people interpreted it as something much darker than fashion inspiration. They saw monetization, branding, commercial exploitation of emotional royal history. Commentators began saying the Sussex operation had crossed into dangerous territory where absolutely everything connected to royalty could potentially become content, merchandise, or strategic branding material. Wedding archives, private family moments, Diana nostalgia, children's photos, emotional speeches. Nothing appeared untouchable anymore. Critics argue that the Geneva crisis exposed a household operating under constant commercial pressure, a machine that now needs non-stop publicity to survive. At the same time, King Charles quietly became another problem for Meghan and Harry without even trying. Because while the Sussex headline spiraled into controversy, Charles appeared increasingly active, energetic, and institutionally stable despite ongoing health concerns that mattered enormously behind palace walls. For years, many royal observers believed Harry and Meghan's long-term strategy depended on Charles eventually becoming weak enough, isolated enough, or emotionally vulnerable enough to reopen the royal door for them before William fully consolidated power. But now that timeline suddenly looks uncertain. Charles continues appearing publicly, state visits continue, institutional engagements continue, and with every successful appearance, William's future authority strengthens in the background like a slowly rising firewall against any Sussex return. Royal insiders believe that reality is terrifying for the Sussex operation because their commercial relevance still depends heavily on royal proximity. Without meaningful royal access, the entire brand becomes harder to sustain long-term. That is why the Geneva scandal mattered so much more than people first realized. It was not just an embarrassing selfie. It became a symbol of something bigger, a household trying desperately to project global power while evidence of contraction keeps appearing everywhere. Contracting audiences, contracting celebrity alliances, contracting institutional ties, contracting public patience.